Hey guys, welcome to the part number 2 of Azure Roundup session. In part number 1, you have seen data modeling with Power BI. This is Abu Zubair, Azure technical trainer, and we have Dan Clark, and he'll be presenting part number 2. Hey Dan, how you doing?
Good, good. So today, what we're going to do, if you remember last time, kind of went over the theory of data modeling and getting up the star schema. And now what I want to do is a hands-on how you're going to do it in Power BI. So let me share my screen. And so you can see here, I mean, all I did was launch Power BI. And so this is no projects, nothing that I have in here. And so what we want to do is we want to get some data. And so when we get the data, there's tons and tons of data sources that you can get this from. And so, you can do things like the new Dataverse. You can do, let's see. If we just show you all of them. You can see there's a whole bunch of these. So you're going to see like Azure Cosmos DB. You can do data lake storage. You can do Google, Amazon Redshift, all that kind of thing. And so you can come in here and do it from text and so forth. So you have a lot of options. Now, what we're talking about is we want to bring the data in and create that star schema. Now, if you can get it from a SQL Server database, for example, or some other database, an Oracle database that's been set up in a star schema, then it's very easy to bring it in here and set it up as a star schema. So just to show you that. Now, the other thing I'm going to show you if I have time is, a lot of times we get stuff from Excel files, Excel workbooks, text files, and all that. And so how do we build that into a star schema too? So the first one, I'm just going to say a SQL database, connect, and then I should have, I have a local SQL database. And so that SQL database is going to end up a local host, and then actually I'll just go with that and say OK.
Yeah.
And so it should come up. And we can see on my local host, I have two databases here. I have an AdventureWorks 2019 and AdventureWorks DW 2020. So this 2019 is a transactional database. So you can see there's a whole bunch of tables, schemas. And so to try and get all that information from, let's say a product, we would have to do a lot of joins in here to get to all the product stuff we wanted to. So it's not set up for reporting, and that's what I was talking about before, where you have your transactional databases and then you have your reporting databases. Well, a data warehouse is set up for reporting. So in this particular case, I'm just going to say I'm going to take dim customer, dim date, for example. I'm going to say dim product, and then actually I'm going to take, instead of customer, I'm going to take reseller. And then down here we have the fact internet sales, and we have the fact reseller sales, so a couple of fact tables. So take those. Now, one of the things we can do here is we can transform the data, which is going to load it up into a tool we call Power Query, and you're going to make some more modifications on this. So it's always a good idea to do that. If I look in here, you know, I may not want all the tables that it's going to bring, and so you know, all the columns and so forth. So it's a good idea to do some transforming of the data, some cleaning up of the data, and so forth. But for now, what I'm going to do is just show you how we can get this schema going. So I'm just going to load it. And so that loads it directly into Power BI. And so now once it's loaded in, then I can start setting up the model.
So this is in backend. So Dan, this is connected with actual SQL database, right? Hosting a
Yeah,
database.
so it's going and connecting to my local SQL database, but it's actually going to pull the data out because it imports the data into the model.
Gotcha.
And so once I have it out, then all we have to worry about is refreshing every so often to get the changes. And you can set up refresh rates very, you know, very fast. So every 15 minutes or so. And then if you need real time, then we do something. We actually connect to it. So and don't pull the data out until we run the query. But believe it or not, it's usually faster for most circumstances, most use cases to actually pull the data out, put it into the Power BI model, it gets compressed, and then run your queries in there. Because it'll put all the stuff up in memory, and you don't have any of the, you know, going to disk or anything like that. Now, if we look up here in the, I don't know if you see this, but up here we have the report tab, we have the data tab. If I look at the data tab, you can actually see the data that's brought in.
Oh, beautiful.
And so here's the date table. Here's the product table. So I brought in 106 rows. And then the fact, I'll just go to the fact reseller, 57,851 rows. So this is an extremely small data set on Power BI terms. Now, if I come over here, this is where we're going to do the model, and we set it up as a star schema. So one of the things we want to do here is we want to put this up. And since it was a relational database, it actually pulled some of these relationships and said, okay, we could make that link because it was defined in there. And so if you look here, we have product key, and then up in the product we have somewhere in there, there's product key. So we have the product key here, product key down here, and that's going to be our one-to-many relationship we talked about. Over here we have the reseller key, and then there should be a reseller key in here. And so that's what's going to be used to connect these. And so it's a one-to-many. Now this one didn't pick it up. And so maybe the reason was, you know, didn't have, it's probably because of the name, because it really looks at the name and does that. So if we look at this, and we say, let's see, date, month, number. Here's the date key. And so we have a date key here. And so if we come over here and look, we should have a couple keys. Now we could do by date, order date to order date, but since we have the key, let's just use the key here. So there should be a order date key. I thought it was in there, but maybe they updated it. So in this case, I would say order date here, and Let's see if we have just the date. Yeah, let me go back in here and look at this. So, let's see, due date, order date. And if I look at here, date key, full date alternate key. So that's what I'll have to use. And so if I take this, let's see, due date and that full date alternate key. So we have to figure out what's the commonality in them. And so this one, it should be a one to many as you go in here. And you're starting to see the star schema that we talked about. So we're going to have, even if these weren't named DIM reseller, you should know that, remember, the dimensions are going to be, you know, what you're going to slice and dice by or group by. So one of the things you might group by on the reseller is the business type. Okay, so using that business type, we can see what our sales was for a particular business type and slice and dice by that. You could look at product line, see how we're doing with each product line, that kind of thing. And so here we can slice and dice by date, and then that will give us the order date that they had and what our sales were on a particular date. We could do it for a month. We can compare one month to another month. So if you saw, what I did is I just dragged from the one key over to the other key. Just for your knowledge, the keys on the dimensions are going to be what we call the primary key to the table. It makes sure that there's nothing repeated in there, so no repeated rows. And then it's a foreign key on the fact sales as we go in there because it's going to be repeated. Now, if you click on this relationship, you get a couple things here that is very important. You're going to look at how they're related, and so the cardinality you can change it so many to one, one to one, one to many, and many to many. So depending on what the relationship is defined as. The other thing that is cross filtering. So you want to think about, and that's the way the arrow goes. So if I go and I do this both directions, and I say okay, you end up getting that double arrow. What does that mean? Well, when I end up picking a business type here, so I'm going to filter this by business type, and that will end up passing that filter down and then filter the factory reseller sales by business type. If you have it one way, that's the way it should be, because filtering should go from your DIM dimensions into your fact. There are times, though, and very few, but there are times when you want to do your fact and you're going to filter on a fact and then something inside the fact, and then I'll come back and filter the reseller. So if I come in here and I filter on, let's say, order date, and so I filtered this on order date, then what would happen, it would only show the resellers that actually had orders on that date. Now, whether or not you want to do that is up to your report and how you're going to slice and dice it. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so, again, you can change the direction of the filter, which is important, and you can change the cardinality of this. So what we saw there is bringing in a a set of tables and a fact. They were part of a larger data warehouse. And so that's kind of nice because what you're going to do is you only pull in what you need for your particular reporting and aggregating, your analysis of this. You might not be interested in internet customers, for example, if you're in charge of the resellers, the business resellers, and you want to slice and dice by that. There's no reason to bring that other information in, so you keep it much smaller. So the other thing I wanted to show, so that was an example of, kind of an easy way to bring it in. The other thing is, let's say you have a table.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's my Excel table. And you're going to run into this a lot. So what they give us in here is one table. And inside that one table, we have the product stuff, the manufacturer stuff, the city, the zip, and state, I'm assuming from the manufacturer, and then, or I guess where we sold it, and then the date we sold it, the region, the amount. So this is the one big table that we really want to split out. If you remember from last time, I talked about splitting this out into, a fact table and and dimension tables. So how do you do that? Well, when we come in here, we can.
So this time you'll be doing like taking basically the table you showed us in the spreadsheet. You can split that up, right? In Power BI.
Yeah, we're going to split it up because it's really not in a form, a nice form like the last one was. Gotcha. And so now what we're going to have to do is kind of create our own dimension tables and fact tables. So we're going to get data. We're going to get data from an Excel workbook. And so this is going to be that single table. Open that up. And so we have the sales data. And so now we're going to have to go and transform the data. So we have to do some stuff to it. And this will open up the tool that allows you to do some extracting, transforming, and loading, ETL commonly called, and it's Power Query. And so it's a very powerful tool, and it has its own language, but the user interface is nice because here you can see we have sales data here, we have source, we have navigation, and promoted. So notice here, it went to that table, and then we promoted the headers, and the headers came up and to the top where we wanted. And then there's a change. If you notice here, they're all coming in as, you don't know the data type, so we have to change type on these. And so the change type ended up going, okay, this is a number, this is ABC, this is a text, and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to.
By the way, Dan, we have 5 minutes time, so if you can wrap it up within 5 minutes.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this table and do it 2 times here. And so this first one we're going to call this sales. And so now what we can do is we can come in here and choose columns. Oops. choose columns. And so we only want to choose the columns that to deal with sales. So if we're looking at that, we're looking at the product ID. We're looking at the date, and we're looking at the amount.
Yep.
And you can say okay for that. And so the next one we're going to look at is going to be, we'll call this, say, product. And so with the product, all we need to do is choose the columns again. And so we choose the stuff that has to deal with product. So that would be the product ID, the product, the category, maybe the segment, for example. And then so forth. So you can see what we're doing is we're pulling this out. Now, what I'll do, to save time, I won't do this one. I'll just delete that. But you see that I would do maybe a manufacturer and so forth.
Yep.
So now that we have that out, I can close and apply this. And so it'll bring those tables in. And so now I can come down here and I can, oops. Now I can come down here and I know I have my product ID here and the sales over here. And so I create that relationship. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Shoot, I'm gonna run over here. With the product, let me just do this. So it'll just take me a second. So I can get back in here. I forgot I have to remove duplicates because there was duplicates in there. And so with the product, I want to remove rows, remove duplicates, and now close and apply. And so now we can have the one-to-many, which is what I want. So product ID to product ID. And there's our one-to-many. So this is our fact table. This is our first dimension table. Then you would create a date table and a manufacturer table to finish it up. So hopefully from that you kind of get an idea how you're going to pull this in and create models from different types of data sources. And you might even have, you can combine from different data sources. So you can take from a relational database and then augment it with maybe an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. So it's very easy to do that. But the bottom line here is you want the star schema.
Exactly. The most important, I really like this part, that whether you pulled up a spreadsheet and then you split it up and you show the relationship, how it worked, the whole data modeling part. And also another thing that I really liked, the way you imported the data from other sources like from Cosmos DB or SQL databases, right? And then you actually build the model on this Power BI. That's excellent.
So
and you can create the relation.
Right. If you haven't tried Power BI, it's a great product, and it's really it'll really give you a lot of insight into your data. So.
Exactly. So anyway, thank you so much. Those who are actually watching this video, basically, this is our Azure Roundup Part 2 from Dan, and he was presenting data modeling using Power BI. It was an excellent session. Thank you so much, Dan. I hope it was a great session.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and look for me to do some more of these in the near future. So maybe I'll do one on Power Query and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dan. And thank you for all of you, those who are watching this. I hope you learned something out of it, and let us know. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.